Hi, guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the Punters Podcast. We'll be reviewing, as per usual, last weekend's Premier League action. We'll also be discussing, we've had the first few games of the Champions League. We'll be looking at the English sides in the Champions League and how we think they're going to do. We'll then preview some of this weekend's FA Cup games. We'll look at Chelsea Hull, Sheffield Wednesday against Swansea, Rochdale Spurs, and Wigan against Man City. And then due to the poll we ran today, the win sixfold was voted for. So we will also run through our selections for that and finishing them with our best bets. But this week, a little change in the starting 11. Tom is coming for Jordan. Hi, Tom, you all right?
Yeah, very well, thanks.
Good stuff. And always joined by Ben.
Hello, guys. Right.
Right, we'll jump straight in then to reviewing last weekend's action. We'll start then with Newcastle against United. I'll come to you first, Tom. A massive 3 points for Newcastle and a very disappointing result for United.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Newcastle, their new keeper that they've just got in from, I think it was Sparta Prague, he was absolutely phenomenal. He kept them in it. Newcastle, they set up pretty defensively, but they got the goal, and that's all that mattered. And yeah, with Man United, they just didn't convert the chances. I'd put it down as one of them days for them. So, I mean, Jose Mourinho, quite surprisingly, was quite gracious in defeat. He didn't really take anything away from Newcastle, so it just goes to show how good Newcastle were there, how organised they were. Defensively, they were very good. And yeah, I'm sure that Rafa Benitez will love that result, getting one over Man United.
And for you, Ben, what did you make of it? Were Newcastle good or United poor?
I'd say more it hangs on United's performance. Obviously, like Tom mentioned, yeah, they could have scored a goal, but again, they failed to break down one of the lesser teams in the league. And I thought, like we've mentioned before, United struggle with the kind of plan B, they're so direct, but it's these deep teams that seem to be cancelling them out. And you've got to be more prolific in these games because they are going to come at you, especially a top team like United. Teams are going to defend like that. So United have got to kind of be more prolific against these lesser sides. I think Sanchez will come good. I thought he was the most dangerous one of the game, but again, I don't think he was. Obviously, dangerous enough to get anything out the game. But I think he will come good. I think he gives them a bit of that plan B where he will be creative when there's limited space. I think they might need someone else there with him as well.
Definitely was a poor result for United. Tom, do you still think that United will finish top two?
Yeah, I think they will eventually, but it's going to be a lot tighter than what people expected. They do have, players still to come back. So, and once Sanchez gets settled in, then, it wouldn't be surprising to see them going on a really good run again. But, I think if they finish second, that's still going to be a good season because they're nowhere near Man City in terms of quality. We saw that in the game earlier in the season. So, yeah, if they finish second, I think United fans can't really complain, but they've got to focus in the Champions League now.
All right, well, that's the United game. Move on now to Spurs 1 against Arsenal. Ben, what did you make of the performance first from Spurs? Big 3 points.
Yeah, massive. And Harry Kane again's popped up as the crucial factor in this tie. Obviously, Spurs probably should have won by more from the second half, but I thought Arsenal defended quite well first half. Wenger reverted back to a back four, and I thought they kind of doubled up out wide and kept the two centre halves central around Harry Kane, and I thought they dealt with him quite well. I think what happened is they probably just fell asleep second half. Harry Kane's popped up, and he's a world-class striker. I think any defender will struggle with him, but I think they just fell asleep a bit, and he's capitalised, and that was the difference, really.
Yeah. Tom, what did you make of Arsenal's performance? They had a really strong game against Everton when they won 5-1. What went wrong at the weekend?
I was really disappointed with their lack of intensity. I think that was the huge difference in this game for me. Arsenal, they didn't go forward. I mean, you can't really blame Wenger. I can see where he's coming from with his tactic. He was thinking, sit deep against Spurs, don't let the fullbacks overlap, and then they can hit him on the break with Aubameyang up front. But it didn't come to any fruition. Aubameyang was completely anonymous in the game. So Spurs did well to combat Arsenal's defensive tactic there. But yes, Spurs were very good. Moussa Dembele was excellent again. But Arsenal, it's complete contrast. Whenever they play against these good teams, then they just tend to struggle, especially on the road. But if they're at home against cannon fodder like Everton, everyone hypes up about them. It's been the tale of them for so many years now, and it's so obvious what the flaws are.
Yeah, Ben, do you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I think they look quite strong defensively again in the 2 ties against Chelsea earlier in the season. But then we've discussed on here about Chelsea's difficulty to break teams down at times. So I think that kind of relies more on Chelsea. I think the outlier with Arsenal, I thought, in that game was Mkhitaryan. And I don't think Aubameyang was quite at his best, but I think if Mkhitaryan, a couple of balls that he put into the box or behind the defenders, I thought they was wayward. I thought they was overpowered and just off form, really. And I think if he comes good in that game, I think Arsenal create more. Lacazette probably should have scored as well at the end. But by the end of it, Tottenham probably could have scored by more just because Arsenal were going for it and it just opened the game up. So, yeah.
Bragging rights definitely go to Spurs then after that one. Moving on then to one of the more surprising scorelines, perhaps rather than result as such. Huddersfield's 4-1 win against Bournemouth. I was listening to the radio and one of the presenters said something along the lines of every time Huddersfield sort of go on a little run of poor performances, they surprise everybody again with a really good one. And obviously 4-1, considering where they are in the table as well, is a massive, massive win. Tom, what did you make of the performance? How good were Huddersfield?
They were very good. They were a lot more dangerous than they've been in recent games. They've tended to set up very defensively, let the opposition have all the ball. But in this one, they took the game to Bournemouth. They got Aaron Moy in great positions, which is going to be huge for them. Because when Moy's up there, he can pick a pass. His crossing's phenomenal. And when you got a big man like Steve Mounier, who came in from Montpellier, then they're going to score goals, and his aerial prowess was on show again. Moyes set him up twice for both goals, I believe. So if they can get them two working in tandem, then it's going to be really good for Huddersfield. Pritchard obviously came in, record signing. Seen him play for Swindon a few years ago at Bradford, and he absolutely ran the show. You could tell that he'd be in the top league at some point, and he's going to give them a bit more craft. He's a diminutive player, so he can get in between the lines of the midfield and defence. This was a massive game for Huddersfield, no doubt about it, and they put them to the sword. I was really impressed, actually.
And for you, Ben, Bournemouth sort of were in a good bit of form going into that one, so slightly disappointing for them.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I thought there'd be goals in this because I think both defences are pretty poor. But I thought Bournemouth, like you mentioned, their good form. I thought they would be the more clinical, and I thought it'd be quite full of goals. But I thought Bournemouth might edge it. I think Huddersfield. I don't think get carried away. I think it's a bit too little, too late for Huddersfield. I think they've kind of just benefited on a poor Bournemouth defence. I don't think I've seen enough from them. I think it's too far in the season now to start thinking coming of age or coming of form. I think they've just kind of capitalised on Bournemouth's weak back line.
Yeah, well, massive 3 points for Huddersfield, obviously in their bid to stay in the Premier League. That was last weekend's action in the Premier League. We are going to move on now to the Champions League. Massive win for Liverpool last night, 5-0 away in the first leg against Porto. Spurs coming back very impressively to draw with Juve 2-2 out in Turin. which leaves both teams in good positions going into their second legs. Chelsea to come up next week, I think, against Barcelona, with United still as well. City, obviously, cruising to a very straightforward victory over Basel as well. So, Tom, I'll come to you first. Looking at the outright market, Man City are the favourites. Is winning against Basel going to sort of make them more favourites or not? Because Basel are not a particularly strong side.
Not really. The price has come in quite a bit, to be fair. I've just been looking at it, and the best price 10-3 now to win it, which, considering they'll still have a couple of games left after this against some seriously good opposition, it's way too short to get involved in, even though they are playing very well. But yeah, everyone expected them to, get rid of Basel, and they've done it in the first leg, so I can see why people think that they'd win, but at the price, I don't think they're a bet anymore. I think there's better value out there.
You mentioned better value. Who are you looking at in there?
Well, when you're looking at the Premier League sides, I'd have a look at Liverpool, 14s, and they are motoring now. I mean, that performance against Porto is just phenomenal, and when you've got them three up front, then you could take on anyone in the world and they could, tear them apart. They did it to Man City, so I can see them being a bit of value there, 14-1, considering they are pretty much already through. Just a bit further down the coupon as well. I think Shakhtar Donetsk are a bit underrated, actually. I think they'll get through against Roma. They're 150-1, which is massive, but obviously there'd be more value in to them to just get through. I'll get to the semi-finals, maybe as an each way perk. I think they're underrated because not many people know much about them.
And for you, Ben, so if we're saying that City are favourites to win the Champions League, no, I hate to go on about Liverpool, obviously, but they're my team. If Liverpool beat Man City, so 14-1, they're probably quite a good bet.
Yeah, I won't put it past them. I think obviously, they're through this round definitely, and like Tom mentioned, I think that front three, four at times could match any defence in this competition. And normally this is where I'd go, but you got to look at the defence. But I've been impressed with it, especially with Chan. And if you put Milner in there, I think there's a lot more stability now. Van Dijk's a strong centre half, so I think they've got the ability there as well. But it's the players in front of them that used to let him down. But I think they have. If Chan plays in there and Milner, yes, I think Henderson is the problem. I think he tries too much, and he leaves his role and just keeps that midfield free unbalanced. But I think if Klopp plays it well and keeps that midfield free disciplined, then I'm not going to rule anything out for Liverpool.
Yep, well, it certainly was a very impressive performance yesterday. So looking more into this now, you've got Spurs at 16s, United at 23, Chelsea at 30-33-1. Tom, do you see any way that Chelsea can get past Barcelona?
Not at the minute, I can't, no, because Barca are playing so well. I do think, well, they've just gone up to 40-1 with Bet Victor. I think that is a bit too big, because Conte obviously is a good manager. He knows about all these European teams. So, but at Chelsea at the minute, I don't want to back them in any way, just because there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. I think it's happened for quite a while now this season. It started with the sporting director leaving, Amenala, who went to Monaco, and Conte is probably not going to be there much longer. So I don't want to back an unstable club, but I do think they've been a bit disrespected at 40-1. I think that's a bit too big.
And for you, Ben, any hope for Chelsea?
No, I think Chelsea will be the only English side that don't qualify through this stage. Barcelona are actually my favourites now. I was edging with PSG, but I wouldn't rule them out that game against Real Madrid, especially at home. But I think with Real Madrid's history in this competition, and especially Zidane's history in this competition, I think they might hold out. So yeah, I think Barca are my favourites for this, and I think, like Tom mentioned, Chelsea aren't in good form at the minute, so I can only look at a Barca victory there.
Yeah, well, certainly going into last night's game, PSG against Madrid, a lot of people were fancying PSG to finally sort of kick on in this competition and start to prove their worth. Tom, I don't know if you watched. Did you watch the game last night by any chance?
Yeah, I've watched it back. Yeah,
Yeah,
today. Yeah, it was a game that, yeah, as you say, a lot of people were fancying PSG just because Madrid are in no form at all. But they've won it twice in the last 3 seasons, so they've got to be respected. And Ronaldo is going to turn up for the Champions League. His goal record is just a joke in the Champions League, and yeah, they've got the pedigree there. They're 13-2 now, 4th favourites, and with Ronaldo especially, they've been resting him. He comes into form in the second half of the season, so he's going to hit his peak soon. And obviously they've done it before, Real Madrid, and PSG haven't, and they bottled it last year at Barca, as we can all remember. So yeah, it wasn't as much of a surprise to me as it was to most people.
Yeah, well, definitely set up rather nicely for that second leg. PSG having to come back from a 3-1 deficit. Right, okay, that's the discussion topic of the podcast. We'll move on now to this weekend's FA Cup action with 4 games to look forward to. We will start with Chelsea against Hull. Tom, remember when the draw came out? That's the sort of game that nobody really wants to see.
Exactly, yeah. It's just one of them, another dour game. Chelsea at home against lower league opposition. But you know what Bradford did at Chelsea a few seasons ago in the FA Cup, so we can't rule out Hull completely here. Yeah, but Chelsea, they're going off at about 1-5 here. You can see why, to be honest. Hull are in no real form at all. They've had a poor season, and they'll be focusing on staying up. So, yeah, you can't really look past Chelsea. It's just how you find value with them. Win to nil market, I was looking at that, 9-10. Not a huge price, but when Chelsea do win, they tend to do it to nil. And Hull haven't been scoring that many up until the last couple of games, so I couldn't put anybody off that. It's just, again, it's a case of how much Chelsea rotate as well, with the Barca game coming up soon.
Yeah, that's a good point you make with the rotation. Ben, you'd still expect Chelsea to come through that one unscathed.
Yeah, I would. I think they'll have Barca on the minds the following weeks. That you'd expect maybe not a full strength squad. I think what will be familiar is the back three. I think in the previous round, the players that were rested, players like Rudiger, I think Christensen's key in the middle of that three. So I think he'll definitely feature because they want to get through this, and they won't want to replay because it'll just be an extra game for them with the Champions League. So they will want to win this. Looking at Hull, I know they'll probably try and keep it tight, but they're missing quite a few players, and three of their defenders are on loan Chelsea players, which can't feature. So this is why I've gone for Chelsea. And but like I say, I think Chelsea will be strong at the back. So I agree with Tom. I think Chelsea win to nil is probably the way to go.
Yep, definitely looking at the to nil market there. Hull out at 18-1 to surprise everybody. I think over 2.5 goals, 4-7. There's not a lot of value in the game. Maybe looking at the handicap market might be some way to go. But yeah, it's looks like a pretty straightforward one for Chelsea. Moving on then to what looks like a bit more of a competitive tie. Sheffield Wednesday at home against Swansea. Ben, Swansea obviously in the last few weeks really in picking up their form and pulling away from the relegation zone. But this is a difficult one for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think this might be a tournament that Swansea want to win though, and I know they've got other kind of priorities in the league. They're definitely not safe yet. But I think there'll be a full strength squad out of this, and I think they'll fancy this. So I do fancy Swansea. I'm not too convinced with Swansea at the minute, and especially defensively. And I think Wednesdays will probably see it as a all or nothing game. So, but I do fancy Swansea to win this. So I've gone for Swansea and both teams to score. Is my bet.
Tom, looking at Swansea's recent form, so gone 6 games now without a defeat, 4 wins and 2 draws. Best price 25 to 19, more 5 to 4, 6 to 5. They're probably good value here.
I'm actually looking the opposite way. I think the money's come here for Swansea, and I think there's a price. They've been smashed in, and I don't really want to be backing them against a decent Sheffield Wednesday squad at around the 6 to 5 mark. So I'm kind of going against what Ben's saying here. I fancy under 2.5 goals. It's around the 7 to 10 mark. It's not massive, but Swansea, as you say, they have been very good at the back recently. Alfie Mawson's been really good. Carvajal's got them set up solid. And Sheffield Wednesday, similar to them, as soon as Jos Luhukay came in, he's a defensive coach, no doubt about it. He's got good authority, and he plays, a solid formation. He doesn't let teams have much space. And you've seen most Sheffield Wednesday games go under 2.5 recently. The Sheffield derby, I think they were 0-0. I think they won 2-0 the other night. So they're in decent form as well, Sheffield Wednesday. I actually think they're a bit too big here around the 5 to 2 mark. So I wouldn't be with Swansea at the prices. You can get Sheffield Wednesday on the plus quarter goal on the Asian handicap. I'd be looking around that route, mate. I'd want to be siding with Wednesday at the prices.
Well, it certainly looks like a good game in prospect. Rochdale against Spurs. I know we have a little bit of a split on the podcast about how this game is going to go. Tom, you think it's going to be quite a difficult one for Spurs?
Yeah, I do. Not really because Rochdale are a good side. They're not, but the pitch is just insanely bad there. I mean, we've seen Blackpool's pitches in the past few seasons, Newport's. They've both been terrible, so Spurs are going to really struggle to play the football on that. They won't be used to playing on that, and Rochdale will be. Although that pitch doesn't suit Rochdale's style of play either. They like to get the ball down and play through midfield. So whenever I see a game where there's going to be a bad pitch, I want to oppose goals because it can become a scrap. That's what Newport made it in the home leg against Spurs. They made it a fight. And under 2.5 goals in this one, 17 to 10. We've bet Victor. I was expecting it to be shorter. I do think that price will come in as more people see the state of Rochdale's pitch. You can even get under 3.5 goals at 4 to 6. So the line's more towards 3.5 in this one. And just because of the disparity in quality between the teams, it doesn't mean that Spurs are going to run away with this one. And of course, both legs against Newport both went under 2.5. 1-1 in the first leg, 2-0 in the second leg. And they were big prices as well. So, yeah, I think Rochdale are going to try and make this a scrap. They'll play up to Calvin Andrew, big experienced centre forward, and they'll just try cause a few problems for Spurs. So, yeah, I want to be opposing goals in this one, especially with that pitch.
Ben, you quite fancy Spurs to run right here?
Yeah, personally, I think it's been very one-sided. Spurs, no distractions now with the Champions League out the way. And looked at the fixtures in Newport against Newport, and obviously the first leg didn't go to plan. But Kane and Llorente starting would, if I was a Rochdale fan, would worry me. And been watching the League One. I'm not a big fan of Rochdale at all, especially defensively. Or going forward, I don't think they'll pose much threat. So, I can see Spurs doing a professional job here, getting it out of the way. I don't think they want another replay after what happened last round, just for the fixture congestion. So, my bet here, it's hard to see value, but my bet here would be Spurs -2 at 11-10. I think they'll do a professional job on Rochdale.
Okay, well, I have to see how that one goes. Moving on then to the Monday game, a repeat of a few years ago, the final, Wigan against Man City. Tom, obviously Wigan are in good form. They have beaten a couple of Premier League teams en route to this round. Do you see them having a chance here against City?
I do, but again, Man City are just phenomenal at the minute, so it's going to be hard. I think Wigan have been focusing on this game for a while now because they've lost the last two. They haven't looked interested in both games. They were really poor by all accounts against Southend, and then they went down 2-0 at home against Blackpool at the weekend. So all the focus is probably on this game. It's just how you find value with Man City in this one for me. You're either going to look, most people would look at Man City to winning both teams to score as a bet, but recently they have been keeping quite a few clean sheets. So, Man City to keep a clean sheet here, it's 8-11. It's not massive, so it is just how you find value. And again, the starting lineups could be big, but Bernardo Silva's a player that's coming into a bit of form now. He's looking really good. I think if he does start, then he could be a good bet in the anytime goal scorer market. He's 2-1 at the minute. So yeah, it's a tough game. I would probably think that Man City will win it 2-0, 3-0. It's hard to really pinpoint a correct bet in this one, but yeah, I think they'll be relatively comfortable.
For you, Ben, do you think City run away with this, or do you agree and think we've got a shot here?
I'd agree that I think it's going to be very one-way traffic in City's favour. I think again there'll be a full strength squad. They won't want to replay. I'm looking at the fixture list. They've got 2 fixtures with Arsenal in the next 5 days, and then Chelsea 3 games after that. Champions League knocking about, so they won't want to replay. I think it'll be a professional performance. But as Tom mentioned, it's hard to see value with it. I think the bookies understand it's probably going to be very one-sided. If you start looking at Wigan's performances, they don't really concede goals, and they do score more. They're running away with that league. So I didn't really want to look at the goals market for this. I've kind of just solely based on City doing a professional job, and I've gone for City to score in both halves at 4-6. I think that was probably the best value that I could find. As a long shot, though, Will Grigg has been on fire. So for him to score and lose, I couldn't find a price for it yet, but I think that's probably probably going to be of high value, and City will probably win this, but he could nick one, so I think that's probably maybe one way to go.
Yeah, apologies for the reference to Will Griggs on fire. That song is dead. Surely that song is dead. Anyway, moving on from that then, that is the FA Cup this weekend. We'll move on then to the Win Sixfold that you voted for on our poll today. So we'll run through our selections that we went with. Start with you, Tom. Your 2 sides?
Yeah, I've gone for Swindon at home against Port Vale. They're about the even money mark. Port Vale, yeah, they did come into a bit of form, but it's dissipated in the last month or so. And Swindon, they've got a good squad there. They have been scoring goals, and I just think that they'll outscore Port Vale in this one, and they're at home. So I think that's probably a decent way in. And I've also gone for Gillingham, who are at home against Walsall. The best price 16-11. Walsall have been really poor on the road, really struggled to win. Gillingham, since Steve Lovell's come in there, he's been really good, and he's got the team playing with a lot more belief. They're scoring more goals. So I think they were the two best bets in the Football League this week.
And for you, Ben?
I've gone for Plymouth away at Oxford. Plymouth, I think it's 3 games on the bounce now they've won. Really picking up. I think they were struggling bottom 4 at the start of the year, but they've been on a really good form at the minute. Oxford on the other side I think they've lost 3 on the bounce now, so it's probably looking pretty one-sided. That away from home, be a good price. And the second one is Wickham away at Cheltenham. Wickham are free scoring side in that league. I think them again have moved up from 7th to 3rd in the past couple of weeks, and Cheltenham lying in 15th. I can only see this going one way. So yeah, Plymouth and Wickham.
Okay, and then I have gone with Colchester away at Crewe. Crewe lingering right above the relegation spot. I lost 4 of the last 5. And also Cambridge United at home against the Grimsby side, who are also lacking wins at the moment. So that's Colchester, Wickham, Plymouth, Swindon, Gillingham, and Cambridge United. And if you fancy that, that is 200 to 1 best price with marathon bets. So that is a big one. So if you fancy it, that is our long shot, if you will, for the weekend. So yeah, let us know if you do get in on that, because that is a big price. So we'd like to see if any of you manage to get a winner there. Okay, we'll then move on then to our last part of the podcast, which is our best bets of the week. So I'll come to you first, Ben.
Tom's not going to agree, but I've gone one further just because of the price, and I've gone Tottenham -3. I do fear for Rochdale defence against Kane and Llorente, both playing.
And for you, Tom?
I'm going to look at opposing goals in the Sheffield Wednesday Swansea game, just because both have been decent defensively. Both will want to get through. So I'm looking at under 1.5 in this one. So 0-0 or 1-0 either way. It's a weird price with marathon bet, 58 to 25. It's pretty much 21 to 10, give or take. So yeah, I want to be opposing goals that.
Okay, and I have gone with a relatively safe one. Chelsea to win their game at home against Hull to 0, about 9 to 10. Yeah, looks like a very straightforward game, and I think Chelsea will cruise in that one. But that is it then for this week's podcast. Like I said, if anybody backs anything that we've suggested on the podcast today, then please get in touch via the Twitter page, and we will be able to see if any of you get a winner on that big 200 to 1 win 6-fold as well. But otherwise, that's it from me, and that's it from Tom.
Thank you.
And that's it from Ben.
Good luck with your bet, guys.
But yeah, that's it from us. We will see you next week. Good luck. Cheers.